Here is something that quietly breaks almost every agent the first time you build one. You have a long, useful conversation with it. It helps you plan a trip, learns your budget, remembers you are vegetarian. You close the tab. You come back the next morning, say hello, and it has no idea who you are. Everything is gone. Every agent we built in this course so far, the loop, the tools, the team of specialists, all of them share that same quiet amnesia. The moment the task ends or the context window fills up, they forget. So today we fix that. We are going to talk about agent memory and the single most important distinction in the whole topic, the difference between short-term and long-term memory. Quick note before we dig in. If you find this useful, subscribe and drop a topic you want explained in the comments. Now, let us get into it. Let us start with the root cause because it surprises people. A large language model is, by its nature, stateless. That is a fancy way of saying it has no memory of its own at all. Each time you send it a message, the model reads everything in front of it, produces an answer, and then completely forgets the exchange ever happened. It does not quietly store your conversation somewhere inside itself. So how does ChatGPT seem to remember what you said 3 messages ago? The trick is simple, and we met it back in episode 4. Every time you send a new message, the entire conversation so far is sent along with it, packed into the context window. The model is not remembering. It is rereading the whole transcript every single turn. That illusion of memory is really just the context window being resent. And that gives us our first kind of memory, short-term memory. Short-term memory is just the conversation living inside the context window right now. It is fast, it is automatic, and it is perfect for the current task because everything the model needs is right there in front of it. But it has 2 hard limits, and we have already studied both. First, it is temporary. When the session ends, the context is gone, and so is the memory. Second, it is finite. The context window has a size limit, and as we covered in episode 4, once a long conversation overflows that window, the oldest messages fall out and are forgotten mid-conversation. So short-term memory is brilliant for the here and now, and useless for anything that needs to last. Which brings us to the second kind, long-term memory. The idea is exactly what you would do as a human. If you cannot hold everything in your head, you write the important things down in a notebook, and you flip back to the right page when you need it. Long-term memory is that notebook for an agent. It is information deliberately saved to an external store, a database that lives outside the model, so it survives after the conversation ends. Then, in a future session, when something relevant comes up, the agent looks in that store, pulls out the right note, and drops it into the context window so the model can use it. If that pattern sounds familiar, it should. It is exactly the retrieval idea from our RAG episodes, episode 13 onward, pointed at the agent's own past instead of at a pile of documents. So let me make the 2 crisp, because this contrast is the whole episode. Short-term memory is the conversation in the context window, automatic, fast, and gone when the session ends. Long-term memory is notes saved to an outside store, persistent, searchable, and pulled back in only when relevant. Short-term is what the agent is thinking about right now. Long-term is what the agent knows about you across all of time. A genuinely useful agent needs both, working together. Now, a fair question. If long-term memory is so powerful, why not just save everything and stuff it all back into the context on every turn? 2 reasons, and they are the reasons the next few episodes exist. First, cost and speed. As we learned with tokenization in episode 2, every token you put in the context window costs money and slows the model down, so dumping your entire history into every message is wasteful and eventually impossible. Second, focus. A model buried under thousands of old, irrelevant messages actually gets worse, not better, distracted by noise the same way a person would be. So the real skill of memory is not storing everything. It is storing the right things and pulling back only the few that matter for this exact moment. So what is actually worth keeping in long-term memory? Broadly, 3 kinds of things. The first is facts about you, the user, your name, your preferences, your goals, that you are vegetarian or that you always want answers in plain English. The second is summaries of past conversations, a short recap of what happened last time so the agent does not start from zero, which is exactly the technique we tackle in the very next episode. And the third is knowledge the agent has gathered, useful results, decisions you made together, things it learned along the way. Store those and the agent stops feeling like a stranger every morning and starts feeling like a colleague who remembers the project. So, how does this land depending on who you are? As an individual, you have already felt this. It is the difference between an assistant that forgets you the instant you close the app and one with a memory feature that greets you next week already knowing your preferences. As a startup, memory is often the entire product, the feature that turns a forgettable chatbot into a sticky companion people refuse to leave, and the engineering job is deciding what to save and what to safely throw away. And as a large enterprise, memory becomes a serious governance question, because the moment you persist what users tell you, you are storing personal data, which means consent, retention limits, and the right to be forgotten are no longer optional. They are the law. So let us bring it home. A language model is stateless. It remembers nothing on its own, and the memory you feel comes in two distinct forms. Short-term memory is the live conversation inside the context window, fast and automatic but temporary and finite. Long-term memory is information saved to an outside store and retrieved when relevant, persistent, and searchable, but something you must deliberately manage. Real agents weave the two together, thinking in the short term and remembering in the long term. Over the next 3 episodes, we make each piece concrete. We begin with the most immediate problem, the one that bites first. What happens when a single conversation grows longer than the context window can hold? The answer is conversation summarization, and that is exactly where we go next. That is the core of it. If this helped, hit like and subscribe, ring the bell for the next deep dive, and tell me in the comments what you want broken down next. Thanks for watching.